Okay, now today we have done the Computer International ASNG level Computer Science paper of variant May June 2021. So let's start with the question number one. So we have to draw one line for each software license to its correct description. So basically, what the shareware is? Shareware is basically a software that is not free for the users. So we have to pay to unlock additional features. So shareware is a limited version of software. So could be released and downloaded by anyone, but users would need to pay to unlock additional features. So this is basically this is the share. This is you have to guess. So what basically is the open source? So open source is the original source code is made uh, available for other developers who can then modify and improve the software. So open source is always available for everyone to just guide these values and then make a new software. So open source is the original source code which is available for the other developers. So this is basically the part four. So the commercial, what commercial means? So commercial means a license based software. So when there's a commercial, so commercial is a license must be purchased to use the software. So commercial is a purchase software. So this is the this one. So this is the end of the question one. Now moving towards the next question. Now this one is Zach designs a logo for his company. He uses vector graph software to create the logo. So one of the drawing objects in the logo is a circle. So it's a circle, and there is a rectangle or a triangle with a three vector signs. Identify four properties of the circle. What basically circle do? So basically the position or coordinate of the circle of the center of circle. It must be radius, line width, line color, line style, and fill color. So it must have all these properties. So the it must have four properties identified. So one must be the the position, and or sometimes position is known as the coordinate. Position and coordinate of center of circle. So second must be fill color, fill color. Third is line style, line style. It must be line color, line width. Sometimes fifth one must be line width. These are the basically the properties of the circle. So now for question part two, describe what is meant by drawing list using the logo as an example. So basically, what the drawing list means, drawing list is a type of list that stores each separate object in the logo, or a list that stores the command or description required to draw each object. So to describe what the drawing list means, so first you have to define by his definition. So drawing list, drawing drawing list, drawing list is a type of list, is a type of list uh, that stores that stores each separate object, each separate object in the logo. This is basically the drawing list. So using this logo as an example, so each shape has its own drawing list. Second point is each shape has its own drawing list. An example related to logo is, for example, three triangles, one square, and one circle. So the examples are, for example, three triangles, three triangles, one circle, and one square. These are basically the drawing list description. First, you have to define what the drawing list means. So every shape has its own drawing list, and then example to the our logo, it must have three triangles, one circle, and one square. Now for the next one, next part, Zach could have used a bitmap image for the logo. Describe two drawbacks of using bitmap images for the logo instead of vector graphs. So what are basically uh, there are too many drawbacks. So the basic one is a bitmap file is likely to take up more storage space. A bitmap image cannot be enlarged or difficult to use. A bitmap would be more difficult to edit. So basically, there are we have to write two drawbacks. So first drawback is a a bitmap file is likely to use or to a bitmap file is likely to uh, take up more space, take up more storage space because the color of each pixel needs to be stored, because color of each color of each pixels need to be stored. This is basically a bitmap is. So this is basically the first drawback of bitmap. Now the second drawback is a bitmap image cannot be enlarged or difficult to use in different types of documents. So a bitmap image image cannot be enlarged cannot be enlarged so it is difficult or it's so or it is difficult to use. It is difficult to use in different types of difficult to use in different types of document. These are basically two drawbacks of Bitmap. Now, Zach company holds detail about clients in a database. Give three security measures of Zach can implement to make use that one can authorize employees can across the data. So there must be one must be the important one is the password. Then there must be biometrics, and swipe card, swipe cards. There must be two-step authentication, authentic authentication. These are the basically Jack has to implement. So next one for question number 3. So the table shows the different instructions from the set of processor. So we have to define these instructions and make our table. So instruction table. So for instruction table, first we have to start with address 100. Okay, so it must be 100. Now ACC, what the ACC means? So this ACC is of type 2, and there is memory address 200, no 200, and 201, and there is no relevancy of 201 and 202. Then there must be 101, 102, 103. 103 has ACC equals to 1. 104, 104 have memory address, that is memory address 200, that is 1. Here it can be written. So 105 and for later. So this basically uh, this is the scheme to write the table. So it must have carry 3 marks. So for first one I have, so this is me, this is the addresses for why written that 100. So 100 is basically LDD 200. So what basically LDD means? LDD means that you have to store the address in ACC. So we have first that this 100 is in ACC. Okay. So for example for 103, now going upward again, for 103 for 103, this is December DC, and DC basically is the deduction of data from register, or it may be the decimal, or so it must be DC ACC. So subtract 1 from the contents of the register. So we have to subtract 1 of the content from register, ACC or IX. So it must be 103 must be, we have to subtract 1. So it must be, for example, this is 100 for 2. So 101, 102, 103. So we have to subtract 1 from 2, it must be 1. So this table must be the easiest part of this question. Now the part B is the instruction in the memory address 100 needs to be changed. It needs to be indirect addressing to load the contents of memory address 200. So give the new instruction to replace LTD 200. So what will be the new instruction? So it must be to replace 200. To replace 200, the new instruction must be 201. Because why? So basically it is the compare the content. First we have to basically compare the address of ACC with the contents of address. So by comparing, it means that I am using 201 as my primary, so it must be, sorry, 202, it must be LTD, LDI, it must be LDI 202. Okay, to replace 200 LDD, we must add LDI 202. So next one, each instruction in the assembly language program is encoded in 16 bits. The instruction CMP 201 has operand 201 converted operand 201 into 8 bits. So how to convert in 8 bits? So this 8 bits must have the binary having 8 bit must have 8 digits having 0 and 1 value. So 201, basically this 201 is 201 is nothing, but it is having 8 digits. Okay, carrying the information. So first must be 1100 and there must be 1001. So you have to add both this, so it must be 1100 and 1001. Okay, state the maximum number of operation codes that can be represented using 8 bits. So 8 bit we have to represent only 256. Maximum is 256. The state register contains condition flags. Identify 3 condition flags that can be used. So how many types there must be? 0 type, 0. There must be carry, there must be overflow, there must be a third, fourth type, sign, partially. These are all the types of uh, condition flags. Moving toward next one, question 4. Now you have to complete it. So there is basically a system having logic circuits. So this is basically containing and or, and there must be the inverse of or. So how to do it? So 0 from A, that here 0, is 0, 0 and 0. So all the values are 0, so x must be, output must be 0. So when I'm taking or, so it must be this is 1 in the second condition. The value is 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so it must be inverse 1. It is also inverse, that is 1, and it is 0. So 1 or 0, the output must be 1. So 1 plus 1 equals to, it is 0, and 1 plus 1 equals to 1. So 0, 1, 0 is also 0. So in the same manner you have to complete your table. So the value must be here 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 and 0, 0. This is the complete truth table. Okay, so for the next one, identify three logic circuits not used in the three logic circuit not used in the logic. So this must be OR, which is not used, or XOR, NOR, NOT. These are the that are not used in the circuits. Now question number 5 is a company basically hmm, a company runs activity codes. It creates the relationship data between the codes it runs. So complete the entity relationship ER. So we have to complete the ER diagram. So how to complete it? How to complete it? So codes basically codes. There is a course employee and the employee. So there must be some relation between them. So first we have to cover with course employee and a course. So this must have course employee. The arrow is head ahead and here is also ahead. Then course and then there's a booking and then there's a customer. So for booking the customer will book a lecture and book means the customer is booking a lecture. So this is the complete ER diagram for this. Now for describe what is meant by referential integrity. So what basically is the referential integrity? So referential integrity give an example from the customer and booking table in your answer. So what basically is the differential integrity? So each value stored in the customer ID field in the booking table must have corresponding value. So this corresponding value in the customer ID field in the customer table is the referential value. So this is basically the uh, referential integrity. So referential integrity means the specific value for the input uh, at, at 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 different points. So when I am taking different points, so the value must be different for all the values. So so we have to uh, model our system. So referential integrity refers to the relationship between tables. So differential integrity is differential differential integrity is differential integrity uh, is the relationship is the relationship is the relationship between tables. Okay, so because each table in the database must have a primary key, this primary key can appear in other tables because of its relationship to data within those tables. So referential integrity is the logical dependency of foreign key on a primary key. So I am again, so referential integrity is the logical dependency of foreign key on primary key. So this is basically the differential key is. So give an example. So each value stored in the customer ID in the booking table must have a corresponding value. So this is known as in the table, basically customer table. So this is known as referential integrity. Now for the next one, C part, DDL. So what DDL means? how it works. So identify three other items that can be created in the database using the DDL. One item that can be created is the database. So the others are basically tables, let's see, tables, uh, primary key, secondary primary key, then there is a foreign key, others are user indexes, fields, attributes. These are all the basically which can be used in the DDL. So part of the employee table is shown. No, DML. So DML basically means data manipulation language. So we have to write a data manipulation language for this one. So how to write it? First, select first name, comma last name from employee, write role and language and this. So I will write a general structure of this and this will be so select first you have to select select first name comma last name uh, from employee where role equals to leader and language is equals to French or language is equals to in this case equals to English. So language equals to, for example, it must be language equals to French or language equals to English. It depends on you, and there must be FRENC French, and there must be semicolon for English too. Okay, so select and there must be a line here. So from employee, so we have to call the values from employee table from employee. This is basically the general. Now it's up to you that what value you are putting. Web page including HTML, JavaScript, and PHP code. So this page is loaded and the value 16 is entered. Value 16 is basically VAR or greeting. So state the output when the enter button is clicked. So this basically is value 16 is entered. So it is basically greeting for the day. So this code must be this code that when someone is greeting the a day uh, or a good morning message. So this must be the output must be a is click that is good day. Okay, give the number when the JavaScript function is called. So basically JavaScript function is called at 12. This one at 12. Give the identifier names of two variables. So one is basically do identifier. One is hot, second is greeting. So this is basically the easiest part. The computer, the program contains client side and the server side code. Yes, it's true. The PHP code in the program will run on the client side. No, it's false. Line 19 says, oh, no, it's not the output, it's 13. It's 16, sorry. Line 18 of the code contains conditional statement. Yes, it's contains if statement. So if statement is always a conditional sentence. So E is uh, examine the following list of terms. Examine the following list of terms that is blend with browser, compiler, HTML, and something. Complete the following table. So first, that the dash can be performed both. So it must be validation. That is validation can perform both client server and server side. It is performed more rapidly by the browser because there is no delay in transmitting and receiving data and from the server. It is also performed on the server client because the client browser may not browser may not support dash. So there must be HTML and Java. So I am using JavaScript. Okay. So it's the we have completed the now question 7. This question presents three scenarios. Scenarios are Marina has very short deadline to create a piece of software for a client. Algorithm A is quick to code and simpler to test, but and inefficient to run. So how to do it? So how to do it? So first we have to algorithm B is more complex to code and test, but has uh, more efficient runtime. She decides to implement algorithm A. So why he is implementing algorithm A? So Marina acts in the best interest of employee to complete working product on time. Okay, so then that is more likely to be correct as the coding is simpler. So second is Marina uh, knowingly produces a solution that is not as efficient as it could be. So first justification is or first point is Marina acts in the best interest of the employee of the employer to complete the to complete to complete working product on time. This is basically ethical. Now the second one is Marina knowingly produces a solution that is solution that is solution that is not not efficient. So these are the two justifications. So this is basically ethical, first one, and second is the non-ethical or unethical. Dog is a managing a project for a client that has fallen behind schedule. He asks all members of the project team to work extra hours and cancel any holiday plans to get the project back on schedule. So, what basically the dog is trying to act in the best interest of his employee to make and maybe asking employees to voluntarily offer to work additional hours. So first is uh, dog is trying to act in the best interest for dog is trying to for best interest of uh, basically employer or client. Dog is trying to act to act in best interest of best interest of his client. And second one is dog has management responsibility to be fair of his colleagues. So, but this is showing a lack of personal integrity by applying pressure. So this is dog has basically to be to be fear of his colleagues that is basically showing the lack of personal integrity by applying pressure. So this is basically the two justifications. And Devil is programming a car safety management system. She thinks that the test plan she has been given is not adequate. She decided to discuss her concerns on public internet forum. So what the justification? So first is Devil may feel that in the public interest the problem should be discussed. And second was the devil may be breaking company policy, discussing current projects or confidential projects to the public. So first basically is that is devil may feel that in the public interest the problem should be discussed. May feel that in public interest public interest the problem should be discussed. The problem should be discussed. Should be discussed. Okay. And the second one is Debel may be breaking company policies. May breaking policies. May breaking policies for what that they can describe and discussing current projects or confidential products to the public and has a duty to act in the best interest of his company and shall have raised her concerns internally. So basically this is second point is the unethical. The first is the ethical. Now the question number 8 is Jai is developing a computer game that allows users to create stories. So take one of them. So first is translates and executes each line of source code one line at a time. So for one line, we use an interpreter. Just so we use interpreter. Translates low level source or low level assembler must be present in memory to execute, so it must be interpreted. And translates high level source. So high level source is basically interpreter and compiler. Now the next one is there is must you have to write the benefits. J decides to use a computer to develop the game. Identify two benefits of using a compiler. So the compiler is not uh, required to run the program. The program can be the program can be distributed without the source code. So first is benefit one is the compiler is not required not required to run the program to run the program. Second benefit is the compiler produce code or the program can be distributed without the source code. Second benefit is this is first benefit. Second is the program can be distributed without the source code. Without source code. Source code. The two benefits. The game generates a story which is stored as a text file. So identify two reasons for compressing the text file. So one reason is to reduce the storage space and to reduce the time. So to reduce storage and to reduce time it would take to transfer the file. Okay. So the next one explain the reasons why the J compresses the file with lossless compression instead of lossy compression. So for this one, uh, that is all of the original data needs to be related. And so that's one. Let's have a minute. So we have to explain the that all of the original data needs to be related or recovered, because otherwise the file contents would not make sense. So for this, uh, all the original data needs to be retained, because of all the data all the data all the data needs to be needs to be retained or recovered. These are basically the. Now for question number 9, identify two differences between a public IP and private IP address. So a private ID is also known as within the LAN, and public ID is outside of the LAN on the internet. First is this one. Public is allowed by ISP and private is allocated by router. So first is that private IP private IP private IP is only known is only known within 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 LAN, but the public IP is known outside the LAN. So this is the first point, and the second comparison is public is allocated by ISP. Public is allocated by ISP. ISP and private is allocated by router. Private is private is private is allocated by router. Is allocated by router. So this is the question number one. Nine part one completed. So for second one, okay, we have to describe the descriptive term. Receive data packets from the network. So basically, it's the server or router. So the term basically is the known as router. Router manage access to centralized resource. So this is basically centralizes the server joins networks that use different sets of roles to transmit data. That is gateway, and the monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic based on the set criteria, that is the firewall. So this basically is the end of the today's paper. Hope you understand each and every point. So we'll meet in the next lecture. So goodbye from this lecture.